Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you to the City of Pines. Nandito po tayo sa Baguio. Sorry na lang, hindi ako nang iinggit. Masarap lang talaga na nakakatakas paminsan-minsan. I am doing our second show here at the Manor at Camp John Hay. And today we will be featuring two guests. First will be one of our favorites, Senator Risa Ontiveros, considering that today is not only my youngest sister's birthday, it is International Women's Day. So we will have Senator Risa, and to follow will be our friend, longtime acquaintance dito sa Baguio, Mr. Ramon Mon Cabrera, bossing lang naman dito at the Manor, overseeing everything. And we will play catch up later because a lot of you, I'm sure, are wondering what's up in Baguio. It is still up. Mataas pa rin ang Baguio at malamig pa rin. Okay, but before all of that, let me repeat, it's March 8, 2022. It's a Tuesday, International Women's Day. And thank you for being subscribers of Signal TV, viewers of One News PH, and watching Agenda on channels 8 and 250. At ulitin ko lang po, in case some of you are wondering, paano nakaka-broadcast si Sito dyan sa Baguio? Ang hirap ng signal dyan. Well, I just delightfully discovered that the Manor has PLDT, Home Fiber Optic Internet, yung ating favorite, the same service we use in Lipad, the same service I use in Capitolio. So ayun po. Okay, so thank you to PLDT once again. Now, let's get on with the day. Bago tayo maubusan ng oras, let's start with the day starter. Let's go to our daily starter. Here's this one is for all of us. Don't worry about getting old. Huwag kayong mag-alala, hindi problema yung tumatanda. Worry about thinking old. Iba na yung tumatanda laban sa isip matanda. Katulad ng Kuya Sito, isip bata forever. Okay? So don't worry about getting old. Worry about thinking old. Let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star quickly so that you will all be updated on the news. Mabilisan lang po ito. Front page today, March 8, the headline of the Philippine Star, DFA orders mandatory evacuation of Pinoys in Ukraine. Whether you like it or not, ite-take home na kayo ng DFA because the alert level, crisis alert level in Ukraine is alert level 4. So if you have relatives there, please tell them, come home na. Kasi mukhang yung Putin na yan, balak durugin ang Ukraine. Okay, now, at the top of the headline, at the top of the front page, Rodi signs law raising sexual consent to age 16 years old. Because before that law was pushed by Senator Risa Ontiveros, who happens to be our guest today, ang age of consent daw 12 years old. Saan ka nakakita? Meron bang 12 years old na may kapasidad na sabing, okay ako makipag-sex? So at least 16, that's an improvement, not the best, not the perfect law, but at least it's better than 12. Then below that, alert level 1 for 2022 is vital for sustaining economic activity. So once again, Joey Concepcion is pushing hard that we sustain alert level 1 so that the economy continues to recover. Meanwhile, the SWS Independent Survey, hindi po ito binayaran, it is a unsubscribed survey. 40% of Filipinos say quality of life worsened. Mga 36% sabi, same, and about 24 to 26% said, we improve. But 40% said na talagang mas masama ang kanilang kalagayan. Okay? But be thankful because at least we are not Ukraine. Okay? Although we have to be concerned for them and pray for them. Meanwhile, at the bottom end, higher oil inventory pushed amid massive price hike. Okay? There is now a movement suggestion that our inventory, yung ating nakaimbak, nakatago, nakastock na crudo, fuel, etc., should be good for 60 days, if not more, because pag nagkaubusan, close open tayo ng close open. Okay, and then below that, you have the DCRJ asks the the hard questions from candidates, and that is in partnership with the Philippine Star. And lower to that, going digital reduces long queues, red tape, and corruption. And last but not the least, the last two, firms may still opt for work from home schemes. Although we are now going to alert level 1, the DOLE has said that companies can continue work from home and employees can avail of work from home. As long as productivity is not affected, pwede naman daw work from home. Last but not the least, Toyota has launched its new third generation Avanza. So dun sa mga nagbabalak bumili ng mas maliit, mas matipid na sasakyan, ayun, tingnan daw po ninyo yung Avanza. Okay, so that's our front page for the Philippine Star today. And now, let's go to our first guest. Masarap siyang ka-interview. Kanya lang kulang ang isang araw pag in-interview natin. Especially today, we have double guests. Let's bring in the chairperson for the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality in celebration of International Women's Day, Senator Risa Ontiveros. Madam Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Cito. And hindi ka man nang iinggit, na iinggit ako sa'yo. And happy birthday sa inyong youngest sister. And happy International Women's Day to her and to all the other beloved women in your life.
Well, I have beloved women in my life. One of them is staring directly at me while she is working as my technical director. Okay, anyway, moving forward, we're celebrating International Women's Day. I guess you're happy that the president signed into law timing na raising the age of consent from 12 to 16. What are your observations now that we are observing International Women's Day? What is the state of the Philippines and women in the Philippines?
Well, as far as we've come so far, Sito, kailangan pa rin nating i-unburden, pag-aanin yung dinadala, pinapasan na may mga kababaihan bilang primary caregiver pa rin sa ating mga tahanan, sa ating mga komunidad. Primary caregiver na, technical director pa, halimbawa. Kailangan natin mag-establish ng mga konkretong accessible na mga programa sa kalusugan, sa nutrisyon, sa edukasyon, sa social services. So things that we women often take care of also in the home and beyond. Mas marami ring programa sana, Sito, to keep young women in school matapos ang kanilang edukasyon. And of course, speaking of one of the laws, I'm so happy to have been part of passing yung Safe Streets and Public Spaces Act o yung Bawal Bastos Law. Yung implementasyon talaga niya, no, in public spaces, sa habang nasa trabaho kami, online din tulad dito, and within our own families, where everything good, also everything bad, but everything good begins sa mga pamilya natin, mga tahanan, also during times of disasters. And we know, Sito, this morning, we are one with our kababayans in Misamis Occidental and in other parts of Mindanao, bracing for another approaching possibly extreme weather condition. And speaking of which, syempre, yung mga kabaro din namin sa kanayunan, that's another area where we still have to take many steps forward. So, gusto ko sana sito ma-promote natin yung active participation naming mga kababaihan in building those local communities where we live, where we work. Protektahan yung kalikasan, alagaan yung mga sources of food natin, no, tungo sa food security. Tapos, yun na nga, speaking of the typhoon earlier, no, palakasin din yung resilience natin laban sa mga disaster. So all these concerns that we take up in our homes and way beyond.
Okay, you're running for re-election. By the way, congratulations for a very good performance in the Senate.
Ay,
And
maraming
now
salamat.
that you're running for re-election, kasi it's always been the issue I raise against, well, not against, but to all the candidates. What's your program? What's
Mm.
your agenda? Who's your cabinet, etc. In your case, if when you are re-elected senator, what would be your legislative agenda?
Ah, Pagpapatuloy ko sito what I tried to really work hard on the past 6 years, now captured by my advocacy, healthy buhay at hanap buhay. So these are laws, direct services, also anti-corruption investigations and recommendations for women in the realm of health, in the realm of good governance, particularly yung tamang paggastos ng pondo ng publiko, pondo ng gobyerno. So, for example, one of the happiest laws I've been part of passing for women is, of course, the expanded maternity leave law. I still want to work on other bills that are still in the works. For example, yung mga benepisyo para sa manggagawa sa informal economy, lalo na yung mga babaeng nabubuntis doon pero dahil di pa sila empleyado, they may be freelancers or nasa gig economy, they can't even avail of the expanded maternity leave law. Yung balik trabahong ligtas, because I really listened with great support dun sa sinasabi mo kanina na slowly as we're healing from COVID, we're opening up the economy again, people are really going back to work in numbers finally. So importante may ligtas na public transport to take to work at importante na yung mga workplaces natin ay COVID-free din. So balik trabahong ligtas. And many of those, of course, are women going back to work outside our homes. Yung Marino Bill or Magna Carta for Seafarers, you might be pleasantly surprised to know na may mga kababaihan din na marino or marina, mga seafarers. And for that whole sector of our kababayan abroad, not on land but on the seas, in the seas, kailangan din siguruhin yung karapatan at kagalingan nila. At syempre, para dun sa mga ako kasi sa halos kalahating dekada na lang mapopromote na rin sa hanay ng mga senior citizens. So yung pagsasabatas ng pagdoble ng universal social pension ng ating mga lolo at lola. So those are some of the bills that are in the works that I hope to be able to work on if I get to work again in the Senate. At syempre, tutuloy ko talaga sito yung laban natin kontra sa korupsyon. Mapa-pharmaly man yan, pastilla scam, or human trafficking.
Okay, Senator, nabanggit mo yung Marino Bill and I remember interviewing a party list representative and nasabi sa akin, baka raw pwede, is it possible for our seafarers to be part of the absentee voting privilege? Kasi raw, sila parang hindi sila covered being on ships, being out at sea, ay hindi sila covered. And I already brought that up with other candidates. So I'm bringing it to your attention. Kasi pagdating sa eleksyon, sasabihin nila, kami yung nagpapadala ng pera sa Pilipinas, pero pagdating ng eleksyon, lulutang-lutang kami sa dagat, wala kaming say.
Oo nga eh. And di ba sinasabi sito na there's no taxation or in this case remittance dapat without representation. So very, very well taken yung point ng representative na iyon, Sito. And I would certainly work on and support that na sa ating overseas absentee voting, hindi lang yung mga land-based OFWs natin o overseas Filipinos, dapat yung mga sea-based din and definitely yung ating mga marino. Yes, yes to that 100%.
Okay, what about, we can't avoid talking about domestic violence, domestic abuse when we celebrate days like International Women's Day. Dito ba sa Pilipinas, has there been some even marginal improvement regarding domestic violence and the prosecution? Kasi may mga nagsabi sa akin, Kuya, may batas. Ang problema, pag kinulong mo yung mister, gutom yung misis at yung mga anak. There is, I may be wrong, no? But Senator, is there a provision in law or with a policy with the DSWD that if the husband, who is the sole provider or income earner, nang bubugbog at kinulong, meron bang suporta ang makukuha yung pamilya dahil wala na yung kanilang provider?
Meron din naman, Sito, but of course, it is still limited. At kailangan pa rin talagang i-institutionalize just in all our, the policy framework we're trying to set up, lalo na post-pandemic, post-recession, moving towards a new and better health and economic normal. Kaya front and center doon yung women's economic empowerment din. Para kung nasa isang abusive relationship or sakop ng ating anti-violence and women and children laws and programs, magiging malaya at kaya nung babae sabihin, okay, enough of this. Hindi ako totally dependent sa taong ito who should be my partner in life, the first one to protect me and we together protect the kids. Pero kung siya pa yung nangaabuso, dapat talaga sito may kakayahan yung babae to say, kaya ko buhayin yung aking mga anak while saving myself from further of this violence. So meron kahit konti pero kailangan pa rin talagang isulong yung mga programa para dyan.
Okay,
And that's also what we're trying to do in my committee.
Yeah, because we always hear about about drug addicts. Let's reform them and then give them a training, give them livelihood, or criminals. Let's reform them. But victims, on the other hand, don't have that equal space or equal protection. What about single women? Because I'm also alarmed by this because I'm not holy or anything. Pero nagbabago na talaga ang mundo. Maraming single women na sa Pilipinas, hindi na siya unusual. But parang, as you said, pasan krus hawak mo na yung bata, problema mo pa makakuha ng trabaho, etc. etc.
Well, ito yung isa pang soon-to-be happy law. Sabi ko nga sa mga kapwa ko, solo moms, at pati mga solo dads, because about 5% of solo parents in the Philippines are solo dads. Isang tumbling na lang, pirma na lang ng presidente, magiging batas na rin yung expanded solo parents welfare bill na dagdag benepisyo including 1,000 pesos monthly subsidy for minimum wage earning solo parents and below minimum wage, plus 10% discount on medicines for solo parents earning 250,000 pesos a year and lower, and with kids aged 6 years and younger, automatic PhilHealth coverage, scholarships with DepEd, CHED, and TESDA for our children and qualified solo parents. Also, a priority in government housing programs. And last but not the least, napahaba sito yung period of availment of the benefits from until the kids are 18 years old to until they're 22 years old. Dahil nga bunga ng ating K-12 law, it's at 22 that the kids are still, or the young people are still finishing their studies and graduating and no longer dependent of solo parents. So meron pong ganun. Of course, there's also the pending teenage pregnancy prevention bill, no, na to empower young people to prevent teenage pregnancies through education. But then, even if and when some of our young people become teenage parents, social protection for them, protection against stigma and discrimination, and specifically support so that they can return to and finish their education, prepare for decent jobs, which is another big agenda I'm pushing during this campaign, not just any job, but decent jobs, especially for women, and to go back to the teenage parents and to help them prepare for a good family life, especially if they
Okay.
decide to keep the baby.
Okay, before people mistake you as a marriage counselor or guidance counselor,
RD.
dahil sa mga tanong ko, the other side of the coin is what's in it for businesses, for
Yes.
investors, for people who are running companies, because you represent everyone. You don't just represent a gender, a sector, but everything you do in the Senate impacts many businesses. What can businesses or businessmen and women investors expect from Risa Ontiveros?
Sorry, am I still with you, Sito? I see a weird
Yes.
notification. Okay, great, great. I won't touch anything. Baka mawala ako sa monitor. Well, businesses, many of the MSMEs, yeah, you were talking about Sir Joey Concepcion earlier, they have really been working with a lot of women, micro, small, and medium enterprises, which generate the vast majority of jobs and decent jobs in our country. And even in the big enterprises, there are a growing number of women participating, of course, at the level of the employees and laborers. More and more well represented we are at the mid level. Of course, at the CEO and president's level, that there's still a bit of that glass ceiling we need to shatter. But I'm glad to share with you, Sito, that in all the women bills we've been passing and filing so far, there's been a really good participation of the private sector. For example, even in passing the expanded maternity leave law to reflect the concerns also of businesses in terms of the impact of a longer maternity leave on their uh, operations, and how this would also be a positive contribution to overall national development. Businesses and enterprises of various sizes are also major stakeholders in really creating that new and better economic normal, and not just in the urban areas but in the rural areas as well, where I'm also pushing for a return closer to 100% support for agriculture as a base not only of food security, pero malakas na pundasyon din para sa selective industrialization in the rural areas as well as in the urban areas, at agrikultura din bilang basehan ng services sector. I remember, Sito, in the very first year of the pandemic, only agriculture, and then later, for example, the IT BPO sectors showed some resilience in the face of COVID-19 and the global recession. Kaya, and sigurado, yung IT BPO, for example, mananatiling uh, permanent feature yan ng ating new and better economic normal, because a lot of not only studying but working, as you were also talking about earlier, has migrated online and will probably remain permanent residents there, no?
Yeah.
Permanent features ng ating ekonomiya.
Well, having said that, Senator, I guess my last question would I would connect to what you said regarding IT, BPO, connectivity, because if you read my column tomorrow,
Yes.
medyo yan yung frustration ko that I wrote about, because people kept telling me, oh, you can get signal here, signal there, yung pong sa mobile phone. And I remember that we were supposed to have Wi-Fi connectivity in practically all the barangays all over the Philippines.
Right.
And the DICT ended up shelving it again, na tamaan na naman ng politika. And having traveled from Manila up north, I've discovered that connectivity through mobile is a myth.
Oh.
Kasi sinasabihan natin yung mga bata, mag-aral kayo online, gamitin niyo yung telepono niyo, tablet niyo, eh wala naman silang makuhang signal. Wala
Correct.
silang mahanap na wifi, pupunta pa sila sa barangay, etc.
Mm.
And I suggested in that column that perhaps we should just let Smart PLDT Globe put up the system
Hmm.
instead of bidding out the system na walang mangyari-yari. Baka kasi panahon pa yan ni President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, ano ba yan, yung broadband, government
Broadband.
broadband na
Correct.
parang lastiko na na-extend, rubber band, hindi broadband eh. So what can you do as a senator to make that a reality for our students?
And that's really an obligation upon us, Sito. Kasi as we were talking about since the beginning, everything practically has migrated online. And ito, may point dun sa good jobs agenda ko that I think is also pertinent here. Yung expanded partnerships between government, particularly our LGUs, and the private sector. So not just in good jobs generation, but also in sustaining, expanding, and consolidating the foothold in our economy and society of these critical industries, including the IT, the ICT rather, in order to enable all that learning online and working from home, and really even opening up to greater investment from both domestic and foreign investors in our economy. And I look forward to trabahuhin din yan, Sito, kung makapagtrabaho ulit sa Senado, suportahan through policies, through legislation, yung ganyang klaseng suporta sa private sector in
Okay.
partnership sa gobyerno.
Sana na nga mangyari, Senator
Mm.
Ontiveros, kasi ang hirap maging turista. Meron kang
Mm.
Waze, wala ka namang signal.
Totoo.
Meron kang computer. Mabuti na lang dito sa The Manor at Camp John Hay,
Yes.
meron pala silang PLDT Home Fiber
Yes.
Optic Internet. So
Mabuhay.
anyway, Senator, thank you very much for your
Maraming
time today,
salamat
and
din.
congratulations po for being able to get that law passed on raising the age of consent. Thank you very much, and we do hope and pray to see you in the Senate
Oh,
next year.
maraming salamat. Ingat. Bon voyage dyan sa Baguio. Stay healthy.
Okay, that's Senator Risa Ontiveros, and we'll now go for a quick break. And when we return, you can catch up and find out ano na ba nangyayari dito sa Baguio, and get a glimpse of the best. And I am not making bola. Kilala niyo ako, hindi ko kailangan magsipsip. Pero talagang sila ang #1 hotel dito sa Baguio, and for many reasons. Eto nga, pati ako nag-squatter dito sa kanilang arts and crafts area para lang maka-broadcast sa inyong lahat. And they also have Signal TV here, so we really feel at home. Okay, we'll be right back after this quick break, and we will bring back a general manager. Hindi, parang bossing na lang ang tawag namin ng Manor Hotel, Mon Cabrera. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us this morning. And now we will bring in the General Manager, bossing ng The Manor at Camp John Hay, none other than our friend, Mr. Mon Cabrera. Sir Mon, good morning to you.
Ay, magandang umaga, Sir Cito. At magandang umaga rin po sa ating mga nanonood dito sa One News on Signal TV.
Okay, now the reason I really needed to interview you was because having spent several days in Baguio, pasensya na, hindi sa lugar mo kasi ako'y naanyayahan lang, nakaladkad lang kami para mag-break in ng sasakyan. I noticed the impact of COVID-19, the lockdowns, the effect it had on many tourism venues and outlets. May mga napasyalan kami na talagang parang napabayaan, may mga lugar na parang bang pinagtampuhan ng tadhana. And as I said, let's check out John Hay. Nag-secret customer kami dito sa hotel mo, sa The Manor. And the first thing that greeted us was full parking. We had to find parking elsewhere, punong-puno. And then when we reached the lobby of the Manor, punong-puno pa rin ang tao. And then we went to your dining area, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, including your outdoor dining. Puno na naman ng tao. Sabi ko, grabe. And parang walang nagbago, parang lalong gumanda. The Manor became even better in spite of COVID. How did you guys do it?
Alam mo, Sir Cito, nung nagsimula ang pandemya, noong March of 2020, ang dapat namin talagang gawin is to keep up with the hotel. Meaning, dalawang buwan kaming sarado March and April in 2020. So sabi ko sa mga kasama ko dito sa aking mga associates at saka mga managers, ito yung pagkakataon na isaayos namin ulit yung hotel to revisit kung ano yung mga dapat natin gawin. So we did a lot, refurbishing the rooms, pati public areas, maintaining our landscape. Kasi ang katwiran ko dito, darating ang panahon siguro babalik din tayo sa tinatawag natin new normal. So, in other words, piniprepare namin yung mga staff that during this time na wala tayong masyadong bisita, ayusin namin yung mga pasilidad namin.
Okay, so you refresh the facility or para kayong nag-renovate kasi when I went to your main dining hall, I noticed that you had added this covered area. You used to have a big tent, but now it's really actually a structure already.
Well, nagkataon kasi na in 2020, during the rainy season, nasira yan So, nung nasira ng bagyo, sa dami ng ulan, kasi at that time talagang araw-araw malalakas na ulan, tinanggal namin ng buo. So, in coordination with our executive chefs, si Billy King, sabi ko, maybe this is a good time to redo it. So, in other words, pinalaki na namin yung pasilidad. And timely, noong nag-reopen ang Baguio, halos, actually hindi pa 100% tapos, pero nandun na yung structure at saka nagagamit na namin. That alone can seat about 200 guests.
Okay, so and ano, mukhang pang international, pati nga yung background mo, akala ko nasa Switzerland ka na naman. so the facilities were improved, expanded even, and I noticed even your comfort rooms had been refreshed, so to speak. Now, but how did you survive 2 years of the pandemic? Kasi yung mga ibang kilala ko talagang duguan, luhaan at bigo. Nag-break pa sila ng marami nilang mga empleyado. I mean, that was the saddest part of COVID pandemic, was that many employees had to be let go by the hotels. How did you manage to sustain your team here? Because talagang high caliber. I really have to say it because other places we visited in the last 4 days, you could tell that half, if not more, of the staff were all recent recruits kasi wala na raw yung mga dati nilang tao. But in the manor, they're familiar faces and the standard is high.
Yun nga, noong kasalukuyang may crisis, ang kagandahan dito, 2019 was our best year. Kumbaga nakaipon kami ng konting pondo para sa mga kailangang improvement sa hotel, and we use that every year. Nagkataon na itong 2020 talagang dumapa ang negosyo. In fact, if I may share with you, ang occupancy namin for the year was 36%. Dati, during the good time, ang hotel namin, ang Manor at saka ang Forest Lodge, average about 88 to 90% average occupancy for the year. Now, with that, nag-allocate kami ng pondo para sa refurbishment. Kasi, alam mo, ito kasi negosyo na ito, kailangan talaga you have to level up dahil kailangan mo ipakita mo na to maintain your high standards. At dito, katulong ko ang aking mga associates at saka mga managers. Nagkaisa kami na, buuin namin ito at palawigin at sa mga susunod na araw na hindi masyadong busy, doon kami magko-concentrate na ma-improve ang aming facilities. Itong 2020 was really a challenge for us. Dito namin naranasan kasi nga dalawang buwan kami sarado. Tapos yung mga succeeding months in 2020, nag-average lang kami ng mga 20% occupancy, minsan nasa 10%. Ang kagandahan nito, yung aming especially yung mga managers namin, ay nagpo-volunteer na pumasok kahit hindi sila nabibigyan ng sweldo. Dahil, alam mo, sabi ko nga sa kanila, mayawan, Diyos, lilipas din ito. So, nagkaroon ng, and then 2021 was a better year. In fact, for 2021, last year, nag-average kami ng 50% occupancy. And it's a start na I can say better year than 2020, pero a roller coaster ride pa rin yung buong taon ng 2021.
Mon, what was the worst period in those 2 years for you? Kasi nabalitaan ko there was a time when you had over 100 employees that were sick from COVID.
Yeah. Noong 2020, the worst year was when we locked down, no? March. Umabot kami ng mga hanggang September of 2020 na ang bisita namin nasa 10-14%. Ang kagandahan naman noon during that time, yung mga BPO dito sa Baguio, yung mga work from home, na-encourage namin na gamitin namin facility. So nakatulong lang ang konti yun. And sa 2021, we were doing averagely good for the year. In fact, December of 2021 was our best year. I mean, for the month, naka-achieve kami ng 92% occupancy. Talagang kasi ang tingin ko dito, talagang sabik ang mga tao na talagang bumiyahe. Considering na ang pagpunta sa Baguio, it takes only about 3.5 to 4 hours with the new completion of the highways. And then, right after New Year, January 5, dito tumama yung Omicron. Ang tingin ko, kasi masyado na-expose yung mga tao namin, I had about 106 employees on quarantine at one time for about 3 weeks. 3 linggo, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Fortunately, hindi masyadong malubha yung wala naman masyadong malubha nagkasakit sa amin, so naka-recover. Then after 3 weeks, unti-unti nang bumabalik sila sa trabaho ulit. And right now, with the level 1 status, parang ang pakiramdam ko unti-unti na kaming bumabawi.
Okay, you're being very humble kasi sabi ko nga sa'yo, in the last 3 days that we've been coming here, hindi kami makaparada sa sobrang dami ng mga bisita ninyo, no? Medyo hindi ka na ma-reach. but in all seriousness, how do you handle customer relations now? Because syempre the first hurdle is getting bookings, and then the second would be getting the QR code ba ang tawag doon, or safety pass for your customers. And yung mga customers mo naman medyo, although napansin ko hindi puro mga decor bata yung mga pumupunta dito, families, mga young couples. Sabi ko,
Correct.
talagang ang mga Pilipino hindi na tinatago yung pera, ini-enjoy na yung buhay at baka walang bukas.
Nung tumama nga itong pandemya sa atin, nag-isip kami ng mga paraan. In fact, in 2020, doon kami nag-introduce ng screening facility for our guests na located din dito sa Camp John Hay. And then, sa operation, nag-adapt kami. Gumawa kami ng eye care within our reservations department na kumbaga sila yung nag-a-assist sa ating mga bisita from the reservations, and then pagka nag-confirm our reservations, we process the travel pass, and then medyo tedious lang yung paggawa kasi maraming requirement from doon sa ating mga bisita na kailangan ibigay sa amin. And then pagka na-approve na yung travel pass by the local government sa bisita.baguio, we send it to our guests, and then pagdating sa border, sa checkpoint, nag-provide kami ng escort services para to facilitate yung mas madaling pagpasok kasi may mga kompleto naman silang papeles. Then diretso sila sa screening facility where we do the triage, and then all documents will be presented, and then bago sila makapag-check-in sa properties namin, sa hotel namin.
Okay, so at least they're escorted because, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been to Baguio City in a long while, they've done a lot of rerouting. They have a lot of traffic rerouting, at meron pa sila ditong number coding from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. We know because we got caught. Malay ba naming may number coding kayo dito sa Baguio City? So heads up to all those who are planning to go up to Baguio City, particularly John Hay. Okay, now, so you're taking care of the booking, taking care of the QR code. You will escort your guests going into the hotel, etc. Now, what lessons have you learned, and would you be willing to share with your colleagues in the industry? Because like I said, umikot ako dito sa Baguio City, and talagang maraming bigo. Parang feeling nung iba nga, mukhang nagkamali kami, Kuya Sito. Nagtipid kami, we held back, etc. And even in other parts of the country, because I wrote an article yesterday on tourism readiness assessment. What should hotel operators and all these facilities follow, or what worked for Manor and for your team, Mon?
Ang una, tiwala lang sa bawat isa Alam mo, I have to admit na there are times na, especially for the last 2 years, may mga pagkakataon na talagang gusto mo nang bumigay. Sabi ko, hanggang saan ba ito? Pero nung nakikita ko yung mga kasamahan ko dito sa hotel, mga associate at mga managers na pursigido, na itawid itong pandemya na ito, lumalakas ang loob ko. At dito ko nakita na talagang may malasakit sila. At saka napatunayan ko ngayon, ang pinakamalaking lesson sa akin, napatunayan ko na karamihan sa aking mga managers ay dedicated at saka meron silang malasakit. Hindi lang sa hotel, pero siyempre sa bawat isa sa amin. Kasi dito kami humuhugot sa bawat isa kung paano namin itatawid. At sa awa ng Diyos, sabi ko nga, tumating yung panahon na pumapasok sila sa trabaho kahit hindi sila sumusweldo. May time na for a month period, halos 1/4 lang ang nakukuha naming kapalit na sweldo. Pero hindi naging balakid yon para tuloy-tuloy namin gawin kung ano nararapat. Kasi meron kaming certain standard. And sabi ko, we cannot compromise that. Hindi na pwedeng compromise ang standard. At kasabay ng pagre-refurbish ng hotel, nag-isip kami ng paraan kung paano itutuloy ang mga training program. Nagkaroon kami ng mga e-learnings, puro e-learnings. We get in touch with them through our training department, form a training program. At hanggang ngayon, yun ang pinag-iigi namin na kasi nga, dahil sa pandemya, marami rin ang, kumbaga, kailangan namin isaayos. Nagiging sensitive kami kung anong mga sinasabi ng aming mga bisita. And we improve. We try to improve on what they think about us, especially yung mga negative comments. And continuous training kami hanggang ngayon. We are back to basic. Dito natin makikita na yung mga, kasi sa hotel operation, kailangan mong makita lahat eh. May gut feel ka kung ano nangyayari in per section para sa ganun makapag-adapt ng programa para tulungan ang ating mga kasama at mga associates na bumalik sa dating sigla. Doon kami nag-concentrate ngayon sa programa. At ngayon, kasabay ang refurbishment at saka, hindi ko naman sinasabing renovation, yung pag-upgrade ng mga facilities, kailangan sumabay yung mga tao namin na makapagbigay ng nararapat na serbisyo sa aming mga bisita.
Okay, so first lesson I picked up from you, Mon, was that the company, the hotel, the organization had a habit of financial prudence. Kumbaga, nagtabi kayo ng pondo para sa, may pinaglaanan kayo for future operations, expansions, but that money turned out to be your, ika nga, life raft, Surbano. Yun yung flotation device ninyo during those 2 years. So saving up for a rainy day helped you, number one. Number two, sacrificially giving back to the company that has been your source of livelihood and maintaining the relationship because tama nga naman kung kahit na maliit na lang 1/4 na lang ng sweldo natatanggap mo, pero syempre naman in the long term meron ding mga benefits being with the hotel for so many years. It's a good lesson for other hoteliers and employees. Then you continued the refurbishing, pero napaka-modest nyo eh. Refurbishing, laki-laki nung ginawa ninyong outdoor dining area rin. Nasindak kami. So, I mean, it really speaks, it's a testament against defeat. That instead of cowering, you and your executive chef, Billy, just went all out, and congratulations to you. And then you continued with the training. Now, may I ask, Mon, what is the current behavior of your clientele? Ano ba sila ngayon? Parang holding back, or kasi judging from all what we've seen here, mukhang Monday, Tuesday, puno pa rin. Marami pa rin mga bisita.
Hindi ko nakikita na nag-hold back ang mga bisita. In fact, ang tingin ko, karamihan sa kanila ay talagang sabik pagbakasyon. So, tumaas na rin ang demand simula itong Pebrero. Maganda na rin ang trend ng aming negosyo. Ang ginagawa na lang namin is to ensure that they comply with the protocols. In fact, kami lang siguro of the few hotels na mayroong safety protocol officer na magmo-monitor ng kung paano, alam mo yung mga dapat hindi gawin, katulad ng hindi pagsusuot ng mask, at saka distancing. At ito ay nakakatulong sa
Well,
na ma-educate ulit.
I met your safety protocol officer this morning. Bigla akong pinuntahan dito kasi pag-alagala ako dito sa area ko na walang mask. Bigla, uy, may doktor padating.
So, yeah, part ng education rin namin sa mga bisita, we would like to be compliant with the safety protocol declared by our city and the Department of Health and the Department of Tourism.
Well, apparently you are one of the first recipients of the Safe Travels Stamp Certificate of Compliance from the World Travel and Tourism Council. Now,
That's right.
how strict are you with the... Kasi para at least mapaghandaan na. Those who want to come up to Baguio, who want to book with John Hay, the manor at John Hay, how strict is this going to... Is their experience going to be?
Hindi na masyado ngayong stricto katulad ng mga nakaraang buwan. Nung na-declare na level 1 na ang NCR at saka kasama ang Baguio City, medyo lumuluwag na. In fact, ngayon, ang kailangan mo na lang travel pass and your vaccination card to enter the city. Sa mga local residents, sa mga estudyante, at saka mga taga Baguio na coming back from other places, hindi na kailangan ng QR code. You just have to show your identification card that you are a Baguio resident. Pagdating dito sa hotel, we still would like to be compliant with the protocol. Dahil ang naging lesson ko rin dito, hindi pa pwedeng maging complacent pagdating sa safety. Kailangan namin i-implement yung disinfections frequently, yung mga high-touch surfaces. Although allowed na kami ng 100% kahit sa restaurant, we tried to limit that. Yung hindi masyado masikip. At pagka meron kami mga events and activities, kailangan pa rin namin kumuha ng permit from the city government.
Okay. How have you managed to sustain the quality of food in the hotel? Kasi kahapon, yung isang kasama namin, si Mr. Roy Moralde, went out to sample your buffet and sabi niya, Kuya, panalo yung pagkain. You know, there are places that I visited and I interviewed some business owner and they were saying that the readiness factor is not there for Baguio City because they had, some of them experienced shortages in steak, in chicken, etc. Sabi ko, bakit doon sa Manor at the John Hay? Mukhang umaapaw ang pagkain, may buffet pa sila.
Ngayon lang namin ginawa ulit yung pinalik yung Yang buffet during breakfast, and some days we have buffet for dinner. Pinanindigan namin na pagka nagbukas tayo, we should be ready. In fact, yun ang una namin ginawa. In coordination. Kasi si Billy King is like concessionaire. Hindi talaga siya part ng... Naging part na siya ng hotel as a concessionaire ng lahat ng food and beverage facilities. So, we get him involved. Sinasabi namin siya na when we say we are ready, then we have to be ready. And fortunately, sabi ko nga sa'yo, parang may awa din ng Diyos eh. Sabi ko, darating at ang panahon na makakausog din tayo dito sa kanilalagay natin. And when that happens, we have to prepare now, and when we open, we are ready.
Okay, kasi bigla ako, ang isa lang naman hinanap ko eh. Yun lang gunisa special nyo eh. But okay, for those who are watching, well, thank you that you have Signal TV in your facility, and then also It's great that you have PLDT fiber optic internet because apparently that is now one of the deal maker or deal breaker for tourists, lalo na mga bata. Pag wala kang magandang wifi o signal sa hotel mo, scratch ka na. And I have to say, you're the only place we've been to in Baguio that had good signal.
Maraming salamat, Sir Sito.
So ano pang ma-expect ng mga bisita ninyo coming to Baguio?
Ngayon talagang bukas na kami. Sana magtagal ito. Recently, noong linggo, ini-launch ng Baguio City yung Panagbenga or ang Baguio Flower Festival.
Mhm.
This will be on for the whole month of March. Medyo toned down lang itong ginawa namin. Kumbaga, hindi namin ginawa yung mga dati namin ginagawa na may mga float parade, yung mga sa main route ng Baguio City. So, medyo toned down. Ang highlight lang talaga ang aming kunyari nag-launch ang city ng landscaping competition para sa mga doon sa Melvin Jones. And then Session Road in Bloom will be Session Road in Bloom. Dito sinasarado namin yung Session Road na maglagay ng mga stalls. Ginagawa na ito every Sunday nung level 2. Pero during this Flower Festival, gagawin ito ng isang linggo sa last week ng Marso. And parang ang gusto naming ipakita kahit na during this time na merong pandemya, with the approval of course ng Department of Tourism, ng IATF at ng local government, kaya pa namin gumawa ng mga activity to promote the city.
Okay, well, I think we've covered it all, Mon, and thank you very much for accommodating our 1-hour telecast or broadcast here at the Arts and Crafts area kasi may magrarally ng mga bata na hindi sila makapag-drawing dahil inukupan ng mamang tiga-Signal TV. Anyway, thank you very much for giving us your time today and for being a shining example that in spite of all the challenges, in spite of the pandemic, you just keep pushing, you just keep punching, you just keep believing, and you just keep thanking God. And you have done a great job. Thank you very much, Mon.
Maraming salamat, Sir Sito, for featuring us. Sana, sabi ko, it's an open invitation. Every time you have the opportunity, you can always come to Baguio. Maraming salamat po.
Yan po, si Mr. Ramon Cabrera, General Manager of the Manor at Camp John Hay. And let's go to our blessing for the week. It is from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verse 26. For God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy to a man who is good in his sight. But to the sinner, he gives the work of gathering and collecting, that he may give to him who is good before God. That's today's agenda. I thank you for joining us today. God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News PH.
And the freaky.